2025 is already looking like the beginning of the end for landlords. We saw last year headlines showing up to 2,000 households a month were facing homelessness in England due to landlords selling up, and reports showing that almost a third of landlords were looking to reduce their rental portfolios. Now, of course, the smarter ones amongst you watching know that homelessness isn't solely down to landlords existing. But let's continue with the narrative that landlords are no longer needed in society and what 2025 and beyond potentially has in store for them. Firstly, we have talk of rent controls. Now, I know recently, as I own a property in Scotland, that rent controls are a thing, but there is recent talk that temporary restrictions could be withdrawn by May this year. But as for England, Jeremy Corbyn has had his say, and he's keen on having rent controls implemented. He was recently seen stating that there were rent controls in this country until Margaret Thatcher came along. There are still rent controls in New York, in San Francisco, and in many countries across Europe. There's nothing wrong with them. It seems to me a reasonable way of preventing excessive profits being made in the private rented sector and exploiting people who are in desperate need of housing. He also adds, don't people have a right to have a roof over their head? Is it good? Is it right that so many people sleep rough every night? In a modern civilized society, can't we say there's a guarantee of a roof over your head? Now, on the surface, this all sounds level-headed and extremely fair, because even as a renter, of course, I want housing to be affordable and for everyone to have a decent opportunity of living a comfortable life. And I'm not alone. The NRLA, i.e. the National Residential Landlords Association, has acknowledged this too. Their chief executive Ben Beadle has stated that landlords are not opposed to the reform, but stressed the need for some sort of balance. Ben Beadle highlighted the issues with the current court system, stating that it takes landlords on average 7 months to regain possession of their properties. And as some of you may know, if you are subscribers of the channel, it actually took me twice as long as this to get rid of a rogue tenant, and it also cost me in excess of £20,000. And I for one can say I'm certainly let down by the system that allows things like this to even happen, especially as my rent for my home today is always my first priority. But I digress. The NRLA then goes on to raise other concerns about how these proposed changes will handle cases of antisocial behaviour and significant rent arrears. Again, fair and sensible statements. Now, we know the Renters' Right Bill includes the following, which I have displayed here on the screen. And just looking at this, we have to recognise that there are obvious criticisms to just simply imposing rent controls. It could see a reduced supply of rental properties on the market, and as a result of this may discourage investment into the housing market sector, given the constant pressures on landlords increasing. And it's for these reasons you've got your fair share of critics arguing that there are better solutions, such as increasing the housing supply and improving the rental market efficiency, which smoothly moves us over to the next article, another potential gut punch for landlords. Labour is set to shorten landlords' net zero deadline by 2 years. Now, in short, this proposal by Labour is to improve the energy efficiency of rental properties, so no brainer on the surface, and the goal is for rental properties to be at least a C by 2030. Now, the current required level is an EPC of E. And what this article goes on to explain is that there could be a potential ban on non-compliant rentals, i.e. properties failing to meet the C rating by 2030 may be prohibited from being let to new tenants. And with 48% of rented properties already meeting the EPC C grade, the government wants to see the standard introduced across the board. And they also believe that this move will not lead to increased rents for tenants. However, some things we must know. It's estimated that the average cost to landlords of complying with these proposals could be from anywhere between £6,100 to £6,800 by 2030. But other articles have stated that upgrading properties to meet the new standards could cost landlords up to £10,000 per property. Now, I don't have the answers for what would be the most efficient way, but I would certainly suggest that rogue landlords and renters have more serious consequences for breach of their contracts and exploiting the other party. If tenants were as fearful of not paying rent as a homeowner was of not paying their mortgage, I certainly believe rent arrears would be a far less common thing. And if landlords could evict tenants within the month and being reimbursed their losses, I truly believe they will be less picky over who they have and more open to fairer rents and demographics. I also believe if landlords were afraid that if they didn't adhere to basic upkeep of their properties, there would be much better all-round supply available for people needing to rent. But what I do also believe and feel is right is that the sector is a mess right now, and despite what the loudest voices on social media scream and shout about, the housing market is broken and it needs fixing on a major scale, and that scale is around offering better solutions for people who want to get on the housing ladder and wish to do so, but more importantly, increasing the housing supply. Let me know what you guys think, and as always, thanks for sticking around when you guys could have been doing anything, but you chose to spend a few moments with me. Thanks for watching.